Today is day 27, and we are here to speak about one word: tolerating. Tolerate means to allow without prohibiting or opposing. So, it's a permit. To put up with, to endure, to have tolerance for something. Tolerate means to permit, to be able to bear with, to put up with. And the toleration I would like to call your attention to is when you tolerate sin in your life. It's important for you to understand that when we use the word sin, 3 little words, and for many people this word is scary, or is religious word, or I don't know, people don't like even to use this word in the world. And what is sin? Is it, when we talk about sin, does it mean only to kill a person, to live in adultery, to have sex outside marriage? Would be only these things? No. Sin is not only these things. The word sin means everything that goes against. Let me see if what the dictionary says about the word sin. Let's see what it says here. Sin. Because usually sin is everything, deliberate disobedience to the known will of God. That's it. That's it. Deliberate disobedience to the known will of God is sin. That's what it means. It means when we do things that we know is against the will of God. When we do things God will not be pleased with. And sometimes you don't realize that sin is everywhere. And every time you have a behavior, you have some kind of feelings in you that leads you to do certain things, feelings that are not according to the will of God, you are in sin. But sometimes people, I think the devil made people nowadays to think that sin is only when those things that I spoke about, only when you are having sex outside marriage, or those big things. I'll not repeat myself. So people think that, and it's not true. For example, you know, a feeling that it's horrible, and I see in many people, and sometimes I catch myself in this sin. Anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling from hell that leads you to take actions, or maybe not do anything that God would like you to do because of this feeling. So when you are anxious, when you are there is a situation you are very anxious about, and I'm going to give an example. The single ladies, the single girls, usually they are very, very anxious to be blessed in the love life. And it's everyone's desire to be blessed in the love life, but the anxiousness leads you away from your blessing, because anxiousness leads you to sin, leads you not to trust that God is going to, is going to guide you, is going to do on his own time. So you start getting anxious, and you start even doubting God. That's where sin comes in. You don't act your faith, you don't do. So when I catch myself being anxious, immediately, I don't tolerate that. Immediately, I tell myself, come on, this is here, and this is a sin I don't accept. Then I go to God and I pray, and I don't only pray, I start acting, because the anxiousness, it comes like this. First, there is a situation like the single ones. You are very lonely because you allow yourself to be lonely because you're not putting to practice uh, the things that you learn about your faith. Because when you are in the faith, you don't even care much about being lonely. You don't you just you find a friend, you use your faith against that feeling of loneliness. You use your faith. But when you don't use your faith, you start saying, yeah, I'm lonely, I'm too lonely. Then you start thinking, oh, I would like to have someone, but why God doesn't do this? Why? What is the reason? You start questioning, you start thinking, and all of a sudden, very subtle, the devil comes into picture. And you start having that little chat that we spoke about another day. You start chatting with the devil. You start chatting with him and changing, you start changing. He brings a thought, and then you throw something back, and then brings another one. So you keep on that conversation, and the devil knows how anxiousness can lead you away from God, and he comes in with everything he can. So this is a sin. Is a sin, but sometimes you accept. You don't realize that this is a sin, and you tolerate this anxiousness in your life. You are not, like someone that I'm going to show you. When you tolerate, I would like to give you a task for today, and your task is going to be with your girlfriend who is doing this challenge with you. It's good because you're going to bring the Bible live in your life, as we have been teaching in the other videos. I would like you to read. First, you are going to read 1 Samuel chapter 2 from verse 12. 1 Samuel, let me open here in 1 Samuel. Did I mark here? So 1 Samuel, you are going to know about a priest called Eli, I think it's Eli. And you're going to know about the sons, the children of Eli, how they were, what they did. He was a priest. And you're going to see that even though he even spoke to his children about their sin, about what they were doing that was an abomination for God. He even spoke, but he didn't take an action. And that did not please God. And let's talk about being beautiful in God's eyes, tolerating sin. It's clearly here that this is not something that makes us beautiful in God's eyes. So you're going to see, I would like you to read. I'm not going to give you everything because I need you to digest this word. Please take time this weekend if you can. Take like 1 hour just for you to be talking to God, just for you to be, understand, read everything, understand what was going on. How was it that why God was so angry? What is it that Eli really did? Go deep, meditate. What is it? Yeah, he tolerated, but how am I tolerating in my life as well? Then you bring to your life. What kinds of feelings, what kind of sin that is against the will of God I have been tolerating in my life? You question yourself. You bring the Bible into your life. You compare yourself. Am I being like Eli? Do I have things in my life where I've been tolerating, and maybe that's why God is not happy with me? God is not looking at my life. Maybe it's a sin in you. Maybe it's a sin around you, a situation that is really bringing damage to the work of God, bringing damage to something, and you don't say anything about it. You turn a blind eye. You don't do anything about it. You have to see. And after you meditate on 1 Samuel, I would like you to go to Judges. Judges is a nice book. I like to read about Judges. If I were you, I would read it since the beginning, since chapter 1, but I would like you to read from chapter 4. And in chapter 4, you're going to know about Deborah. And I really like Deborah. Deborah was a judge. Can you believe? in those times after the death of Moses and Joshua, you know, people wanted leaders. People always want people to, so they can rely on. They were never able to rely on God's leadership. They wanted someone to lead them. That's why I don't want to be this person. I don't want to be your leader. You have to be independent in your faith, and God is going to speak to you through these verses. And I just want you to pay attention. How, oh my God, how do I say this name in English? Jael. Jael. Well, it's here in the book, chapter 4. You're gonna see a name that I don't know how to say. And Deborah was the judge, but there was a woman who did something that nobody expected her to do. And I want you to think about what she did. Imagine that Sisera, the one that she killed, is sin, and see how she dealt with sin in her life. See from this perspective and compare how Eli tolerated and how this woman did not tolerate. And she did something about it. And you're going to see how you have to be sometimes cold. You have to be brutal. You have to be rude with yourself. You have to be crude, if that's a word, I hope so. You have to do something like she did. And we cannot tolerate sin in our lives. So you're going to meditate and, bring this to your life. Two things are going to happen. I know that God is going to show you. And if there is nothing, now you're going to be aware. If there is something, I know you are going to do like Jael, and you are not going to tolerate that sin anymore. You're going to do something like she did. Of course, you're not going to actually kill anyone, please, people. You're going to do symbolically, right? Please, that's not what I'm saying. All right. And another thing that is going to happen is that you're going to start learning how you read your Bible. That's how. Sometimes you read something and then you compare with something else, and then you stop and you think, you bring to your life, you compare, how can that be today in my life? How can that be happening? Am I tolerating? And then you are going to share after you have meditated and you have read and you have thought about it and allowed God to speak to you. You're going to talk to your girlfriend, and both of you are going to discuss about this, and both of you will find out if you have been tolerating sin in your life. Maybe in the past you tolerated, and you're going to see what is it that you can do to change, what is it that you can act, and you're going to go ahead. You're going to be watching, because people, to be beautiful in God's eyes is not easy. It's a lot of hard work. But if you want, you can. All of us can. Call his attention. Do that. May God bless you, and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.